The chair scraped against hardwood as I reached for it. Then suddenly the floor was rushing toward my face. My palms hit first, the impact shooting up through my wrists as pine needles from the centerpiece scattered across my vision. Above me, my stepdad's voice cut through the shocked silence. "That seat belongs to my real daughter. Get out." I stayed down for a second, tasting copper, my chest refusing to expand. The dining room had gone so quiet I could hear the fireplace crackling 20 feet away. Real daughter. The words hung in the air like smoke. I pushed myself up slowly, feeling every eye on me. My mom frozen with a serving spoon halfway to a bowl, my stepsister Emily's fork suspended in midair, relatives I'd known for 7 years suddenly finding the tablecloth fascinating. My stepdad stood over me, one hand still gripping the chair back, his jaw set in that expression I'd learned to read over years of holidays. This wasn't anger, this was certainty, the kind that comes from knowing no one in the room will challenge you. "My name is Ava. I'm 28, and I used to believe that enduring humiliation was the price of keeping a family together. This is the story of how I learned that some prices are too high to pay. The shove didn't come from nowhere. Nothing in families ever does. But to understand why my stepdad felt entitled to push me to the floor on Christmas Eve, you need to understand how I became someone he thought he could push. I was 13 when my mom married Bradley Chen. She called it a fresh start after my dad died 2 years earlier. For her, maybe it was. For me, it meant learning that belonging isn't guaranteed, even in your own home. Bradley never yelled, never needed to. He had other tools. The way he'd introduce me as Lisa's kid at gatherings while Emily was always my daughter. The subtle edits to family photos where I'd somehow end up cropped at the edge or out entirely. The college fund he established for Emily that I learned about only when she casually mentioned it during dinner, my senior year of high school. My mom's response to everything was the same. "He's adjusting. Give him time. You're being too sensitive." By the time I hit my 20s, I'd perfected the art of shrinking. I took the smallest portions at dinner, laughed at his jokes even when they landed like stones, never corrected him when he got details about my life wrong, which was often because he never asked. This Christmas, I'd prepared like always. I rehearsed neutral responses during the 2-hour drive from my apartment, brought gifts I knew would be appreciated but not remarked upon, even wore the sweater my mom had bought me last year, the one she said made me look more put together. But the second I walked through the door, I felt it, that particular electricity that comes before lightning strikes. Bradley barely acknowledged me. My mom handed me a plate without meeting my eyes. And Emily, sweet Emily, who never asked for any of this, was sitting in the seat I'd occupied at every holiday meal since middle school. I should have known then. Should have recognized the stage being set, but I'd spent 15 years convincing myself that if I just stayed small enough, quiet enough, I could avoid becoming the problem. The problem found me anyway. After I pushed myself off the floor, brushing pine needles from my sweater, the room remained frozen. My mom's mouth opened and closed like she was trying to find words that wouldn't make this real. Emily stared at her plate, probably wishing she could disappear. Bradley straightened, brushing his hands together like he'd just handled something unpleasant but necessary. I said what I said. "This is my table. Emily is my daughter. Some things need to be made clear." My mom finally found her voice. "Ava, sweetie, just sit by the window. There's a chair there." The chair by the window, where you put people who don't really belong at the table. Something in my chest cracked open, not with rage, but with devastating clarity. I'd spent 15 years interpreting my mom's silences as complications. She was caught between us. She didn't know what to say. She was trying her best. But standing there, watching her gesture toward the exile chair while my stepdad smirked, I finally understood the truth. She had chosen, years ago. She'd just never had to say it out loud before. "I'm leaving," I said quietly. My mom rushed forward. Don't make a scene, please. It's Christmas. I looked at her, really looked at her, and saw someone who'd traded her daughter's dignity for the illusion of a complete family. He just shoved me to the floor in front of everyone, and you're worried about a scene? She blinked rapidly. Ava, please. You will regret this. I wasn't talking to her anymore. I was looking directly at Bradley, whose smirk faltered for just a moment. Both of you. I walked to the coat closet, aware of the silence following me like a wake. Behind me, Bradley's voice drifted out. Always so dramatic. Just like her father. That was the line that sealed it. Not the shove. Not even my mom's betrayal. It was the casual cruelty of invoking my dead father, the one person who'd never made me feel like I was taking up space I didn't deserve. I drove home with both hands locked on the steering wheel, my phone buzzing incessantly in the passenger seat. I didn't answer. Let them sit in the silence they'd always demanded I accept. When I got home, I didn't cry. I didn't rage. I made tea and opened my laptop, pulling up a folder I'd maintained for years without quite knowing why. Every document, bill, and statement my mom had ever asked me to help organize. Because here's what Bradley never knew. My mom wasn't good with finances. She was creative and warm and spontaneous, which meant she'd handed him control of their accounts years ago. But whenever something got complicated, insurance claims, tax documents, medical bills, she'd call me, and I'd handle it, and I'd keep copies. I wasn't looking to destroy him. I was looking to reveal him. By midnight, I had everything organized. The heating system repair he'd put in my mom's name but never paid for. The credit cards he'd maxed out that she'd quietly covered. The property tax increases he'd ignored, while insisting he managed everything. The home equity line he'd taken out without fully explaining it to her. Nothing illegal, nothing dramatic. Just 15 years of a man positioning himself as the provider while letting my mother carry the actual weight and using his authority to push me further and further to the margins. I closed the laptop and set my alarm for 6 a.m. Tomorrow, Bradley's carefully constructed narrative was going to meet reality. He started calling at 6:12 a.m. I was eating cereal when my phone lit up with his name. I let it ring. Then my mom. Then him again. By the time I finished breakfast, there were 17 missed calls. I drove to North End Legal Services, a small firm I'd visited once with my mom years ago for an insurance issue. The attorney, Marcus Green, remembered me immediately. "What brings you in, Ava?" I slid the folder across his desk. "I need my mother to understand what she's financially responsible for and what she isn't, and I need it documented properly." Marcus reviewed the contents, his expression growing increasingly serious. "Your mother knows about all this." "No, because Bradley never let her see the complete picture, and she never questioned him." "What outcome are you looking for?" "I want her to know the truth. I want her to see exactly what she's been protecting." He nodded slowly. "We can arrange a meeting, neutral ground, present the information clearly. Would you like me to send the invitation?" "Yes, today if possible." When I left the office, my phone showed 33 missed calls. I stopped at a cafe across the street and ordered coffee, watching the December light filter through frosted windows. For the first time in 15 years, I wasn't bracing for impact. I was creating it. At 2 p.m., my mom arrived at the law office alone. She looked smaller somehow, her coat hanging off her shoulders, her eyes red-rimmed. "Ava, why are we here?" "You'll understand in a moment." Marcus spread the documents across the conference table with practiced care. My mom's hands trembled as she touched them, her fingers tracing amounts and dates she'd forgotten or never fully understood. "Why would he put this in my name?" Her voice cracked. "Legally, he couldn't qualify for these accounts on his own," Marcus explained gently. "Your credit made them possible. You've been carrying most of the household financial obligations for years." "But he told me he handled everything." "He told you that. The paperwork tells a different story." Marcus continued. "Nothing here is illegal, Mrs. Chen, but it does show a long-term pattern of financial dependence that's left you vulnerable. My mom leaned back, hand covering her mouth. I had no idea. That was the moment. The exact second when 15 years of he's doing his best collided with documented reality. I watched it happen in her eyes, the narrative cracking, the excuses failing, the truth settling in like cold water. Her phone buzzed on the table. 37 missed calls, all from Bradley. She didn't answer. "Last night," she whispered. "When he pushed you, I thought you two were just arguing. I didn't realize." "He shoved me to the floor, Mom, and you told me not to make a scene." She flinched. He gets angry when I confront him. I thought keeping things calm was better. Calm for who? The question hung between us. Marcus excused himself to give us privacy. When the door closed, my mom wrapped her arms around herself. "What happens now?" "That's your choice, but whatever you decide, it has to be with full knowledge, not his version anymore." Her phone lit up again. 41 missed calls. She silenced it. We sat in that silence for a long time. Then she said something I'd waited 15 years to hear. "I want to go to my sister's house. Just for tonight. I need to think." It wasn't triumph. It wasn't even resolution. It was the beginning of accountability. My mom stayed with her sister for 6 days. I didn't pressure her, didn't ask for updates. For the first time in our relationship, I let her sit with the truth without trying to manage her reaction to it. Bradley's calls stopped on day 3. No apologies, no explanations, just silence, which told me everything I needed to know. He wasn't looking for understanding. He was looking for control. Without an audience, he had nothing to say. On day 7, my mom called and asked me to meet her for coffee. When she walked in, she looked different, lighter somehow, despite the exhaustion around her eyes. "I've read through everything 3 times. I can't believe I let this happen." "You weren't let to see it clearly." "I should have. I'm your mother. I should have protected you." The apology I'd imagined 1,000 times felt different when it finally arrived. Smaller, more human. "What matters is what happens now," I said. She nodded. "I talked to a financial advisor. I'm separating our accounts, and I told Bradley I need space to decide what comes next." "How did he react?" "He showed up at my sister's house." She looked down. "He was angry. Kept saying you'd poisoned me against him, that you were trying to break up our marriage." My chest tightened. "What did you say?" "I told him that if our marriage can't survive me knowing the truth about our finances, then maybe it shouldn't survive at all." I felt something in me exhale that had been held tight for years. "I also told him," she continued, her voice stronger now, "that what he did to you at Christmas was unforgivable. That calling you not his real daughter, pushing you like that. I should have said something right then. I should have stood up, and I'm so sorry I didn't. It wasn't perfect. It didn't erase 15 years of choosing him over me. But it was honest, and that mattered more than any grand gesture." "Where do we go from here?" I asked. "I don't know yet," she admitted. "But wherever it is, I want you there, not at the window seat, at the table." 3 weeks later, my mom filed for legal separation. Bradley fought it at first, then seemed to realize that the financial documentation made his position untenable. The divorce proceedings were quieter than I expected. No dramatic courtroom scenes, just paperwork and mediated discussions. 6 months after she filed, the divorce was finalized. Bradley signed the papers without further contest once he realized the financial documentation left him little leverage. Emily reached out to me once during this time. We met at a neutral cafe, both of us awkward, neither quite knowing what to say. "I'm sorry," she finally offered. "About Christmas, about all of it. I never asked him to treat you that way." "I know," I said, and meant it. "This was never about you. He's my dad, I love him, but I also saw what he did, and I should have said something. We all should have said something sooner. We didn't become close after that conversation. Some relationships can't be rebuilt, only acknowledged. She remained close with her father, though their relationship changed after the divorce. She and I exchange occasional texts on birthdays, a cordial distance that works for both of us. But we reached an understanding. We were both caught in a dynamic neither of us had created, and both of us had been damaged by it in different ways. My mom moved into her own apartment that spring. It was smaller than the house she'd shared with Bradley, but when I visited, the air felt lighter. She'd started seeing a therapist, started asking questions instead of accepting explanations, started slowly learning to choose herself. We had dinner together one evening in May, just the two of us. As we cleared the dishes, she paused and looked at me. "I'm proud of you for not letting me pretend anymore." It wasn't easy. No, but necessary things rarely are. I didn't walk away from that Christmas to punish anyone. I walked away because I finally understood that protecting myself wasn't disloyal. It was essential. Families don't heal through silence or endurance. They heal when someone is brave enough to name the truth out loud. For us, it started with one truth laid on a table where I was never allowed to sit. It took my mother longer to join me there, but eventually she did, and that's what mattered. The seat at the window is empty now, and I'm never sitting there again. If this story reminds you of something you've lived through, you're not alone. Drop a comment about your experience if you feel comfortable sharing. Hit that like button if this resonated with you, and subscribe for more real stories about the moments that change everything. Before you go, here's a quick bonus for sticking around. If you love learning and growing like I do, you need to try audiobooks. I've got an exclusive deal with Audible. Your first month is completely free. That's access to over 500,000 titles, zero cost to you. All the details are waiting in the description. Don't miss this one.